We'll talk about domination. This one was not even a game. Ohio State handing an embarrassing loss to supposedly one of the best teams in the SEC. This one finishes 42-17, Ohio State Buckeyes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Football Fever postgame show. I'm Ben Buchanan alongside former Buckeye Jay Richardson, Dave Holmes, Obi Stillwell, and Kellyanne Stitz will join us here shortly. All right, Jay, your general thoughts here following a big, if you can even hold up, man, a big Buckeye win. You're feeling pretty good after this one.
Ben, this is all about the start, right? How you start. That first quarter, I sat right here last night in studio, and I told all of Columbus, Ryan Day, you have got to come out, start fast, have a scripted drive, decide who you want to be, decide what your personality is as an offense, and commit to it. And if you guys commit to it, you will absolutely thrive. And what do? They come out slinging the football, absolutely spreading things out and hitting all of those wonderful athletes that we have, including Jeremiah Smith, who is the best wide receiver in the country. We all know it. Everybody knows when they line up, and they still couldn't do it. They tried to bracket him. They tried to single cover him, which is very dumb, and they tried to double cover him and play underneath stuff. Nothing mattered. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly found ways to get him the ball in space, get him the ball moving. That Tennessee defensive line that everyone talks so much about, hell, I talk so much about, they had no impact on this football game. Why? Because Ryan Day kept the pocket moving. He kept the offense rolling. We all talked about Nico's tempo with Tennessee. How about Ohio State's tempo, Ben? They were flying. They were running plays up and down the field. 21 points in the first quarter is an absolute explosion. And what that does to the opposing team, what Josh Heupel had to deal with as a head coach, knowing you're already in the hole 21-0 coming out of the first quarter. Now the pressure's on you. Now you got to act outside of yourself. Now you've got to try to manufacture plays and do things that aren't what Nico really can do or really wants to do. Their offense, Ben, is designed a lot like that team up north. As we all said, they want to run the football and they want to be opportunistic with their passing. You can't do that when you're down 21-0. You got to come up with a new game plan. And that's what Ryan Day did. He forced Tennessee into a whole new game plan that they were not comfortable with. And it's ironic because they play at such a breakneck pace. Well, they're not used to teams coming out at a breakneck pace against them, Ben, and absolutely crushing them in the first quarter. I know this is a fourth-quarter game, but this game was won in the first quarter because it switched the entire style of play that Tennessee has to play, and they could not keep up with the Buckeyes. We say it all the time here in Columbus. This is why people get so frustrated with the Buckeyes. When they're on and they're playing at their potential, they look like a damn NFL team. No one can run with them in the country when they're playing their best ball. And for that quarter, Ben, that was the best version of the Buckeyes I might have seen in years.
I just wish in your analysis you'd be a little more animated, a little more excited. You know, I can't tell. How does he feel about this game, you know?
It's like, come on, we've been waiting for this, finally. Show like $20 million roster. It was worth every penny tonight. That's what we want to see. Every single week, it needs to be just like that.
They absolutely showed out. Impressive for Ryan Day. Hats off to you. Great win, and on to the next one, as we like to say. Let's go to Obi Stillwell, Dave Holmes at the shoe, guys.
Yeah, pace yourself, Jay. We have a long show ahead of us here. No, I understand the excitement. I mean, the bounce-back effort. Obi, a lot of people left this team for dead 3 weeks ago when they walked off this field 13-10. Different team, 42-17. Your thoughts on the way these Buckeyes?
I know we've been talking about that a lot. I know Jay's been talking about that. We don't necessarily need Jack Sawyer to be Bosa or Tui Maloau to be, Chase Young or what have you. We just need them to be who they are and believe in who they are, and I think also the coaching staff to allow the identity of this team to be whatever that identity is, not necessarily to fit into a particular framework of an identity. This team is led by defense. The leaders of this team is led by defense. The offense, of course, they're going to come. I'm a defensive player, so I'm a little biased. Defense wins championships, but there's no doubt that today this team was led by defense. I think they set the tone, and I think the offensive came out. They set the tone, and what an amazing performance by Will Howard to leave this stadium with a mark, with not only a mark but a legacy, and we continue to play, right? Ohio State moves on, but let's talk a little more about this game. But I'm excited, and I did mention, right, when I came in the press box, I said Ohio State's going to win by 21 or more, by 3 touchdowns or more. People looked at me like I was crazy, but it was the feel that I felt when I walked through the tunnel, when I was down on the field. It was just a type of energy and vibration through this stadium, and they did what I thought they would do.
Yeah, it's a brisk night night here at the Shoe Frost warning, so you want to go out and cover your roses tonight. Players walking around with roses here, they're excited to go to Pasadena and get a rematch against undefeated Oregon. When I talk about our pregame show last night on The Football Fever, 2 of our 3 keys to the game. One of them was Will Howard, 24 of 29, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. The pick, not on you, Will. It was a pretty good ball. It was pass interference, and they made a good play on it as well. The other key was foresight, and we said the number 4, Jeremiah Smith. Remember him?
Yeah.
Because he was absent the last 25 minutes against Michigan. They didn't get him the ball tonight. 6 catches, 103, 2 touchdowns, dimes from Will Howard. The Howard to Smith combo. Common names, but not very common players the way they played tonight.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is that Buckeyes have the talent. They have the speed. They have the talent on the outside. The difference, people say, well, what happened? Where were they in Michigan? Well, guess what? They attacked the outside today. They attacked the outside. They got the wide receivers. They got them open often, early and often. But it was the edge. The edge is what was the key. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to win the next game, but this game, it was the edge. And I think that's the power of Ohio State's offense is that edge. And Jeremiah Smith, how can you not make sure that guy gets the ball 10 times a game? It has to happen. And you know what? He showed that he was superior. That young man, a true freshman, it's amazing how he comes in and dominates a game. And, I was a part of that 1995 team that lost to Tennessee. It feels kind of good tonight, I have to admit. And that was a rough night, but this feels a little like vindication.
Yeah, well, if you're just joining us, the Buckeyes, a winner tonight, 42-17. They are now 11-2 on the season. They move on to Pasadena on January 1st. They will face the 13-0 Oregon Ducks, the rematch that's been 3 months in the waiting. We're also waiting right now for Ryan Day to take the podium. When he does, we will bring it to you live. But for now, let's toss it back to Ben and Jay in the studio. Guys?
Yeah, great stuff, guys. Jay, it wasn't just the offense who came to play today. They were very impressive, obviously. The defense was having their way with Tennessee in the first half as well. Your thoughts on the defensive play today?
Well, Ben, one beautiful thing about when you score 21 points in the first quarter is you know what's going to come on the other side of that. Now they have to throw the football, meaning Tennessee. So what did the Buckeyes defense get to do? They got to pass rush pretty much for 4 quarters, which is all you can ask for, especially if you're a defensive line. And yes, did Nico Imaliavas, I don't know why I wanted to call him Collins. I watched the Texans game earlier. But did Nico squeeze through there a few different times? Sure. But what he was uncomfortable the entire time. Okay, Jack Sawyer, 2 sacks for JT Tuimoloau, sack and a half for Jack Sawyer, 8 tackles. Jack probably knocked down 2 or 3 passes that were critical third down passes. But what you saw was just the entire night, just hellacious defensive effort up front to the point where these defensive backs honestly didn't have to do tons of work early on. There was fantastic coverage in the back end, but it didn't matter. Tyleik Williams started things off early on in the middle. He doesn't get enough credit for what he does to opposing teams' 3 interior offensive linemen. Tyleik Williams absolutely destroyed Tennessee's center, guard, and guard. Absolutely obliterated them. And then on the edges, you just saw constant, consistent pressure. Cody Simon played his absolute butt off and was all over this football field. And you saw a feel from this defense that they were excited, man. They were running around. I mean, the Silver Bullets were active. All of them were firing. This is some of the best defensive football Ohio State has played in a while, but they've been playing pretty consistent football, even against that team up north. Okay, they only give up, 13 points? They played fantastic defense the entire back half of the season, and all you can say is, man, what a heck of a defense. I understand now why Ohio State has the ability to win it all, because now that the offense has decided to come join the party, this team looks, I'm not going to say it, but, let's just give it another couple weeks, but this team looks pretty serious.
I think what you're dancing around, everybody watching that is, that looked like a national championship caliber football team, right? There's still more to come, but man, what a good showing tonight in the Horseshoe. Great environment. Now, Jay, Ohio State did begin to lose some of that momentum in the game, as we know. First, your thoughts on the controversial interception in the back of the end zone there.
So the interception was a tough play. I love that Will Howard threw that football to his receiver, Jeremiah Smith. I have no problem with this throw by Will Howard. You have got to get the best receiver on the country opportunity to catch a football for a touchdown, which he almost did if he wasn't harassed as the ball was coming in. As you can see right there, that's called pass interference, folks. I have no idea why this ACC referee crew didn't want to call that, but that was a pass interference. Then questionable right here if he actually has control while that left foot was barely grazing that blade of grass. I'm not 100% certain that he had control, but I know pass interference when I see it. He was not even turned around looking for the football. He was hitting hitting Jeremiah Smith before the ball arrived, and he still almost made like a bobbling one-handed kind of catch. So that is not Will Howard's fault. He has to throw that football. It was a great throw.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's hear now from our head coach, Ryan Day, after the big win.
Performance hiding routine. Yeah, well, you know, I'm proud of our seniors for a lot of reasons. One, for the fact that they were able to finish their last game at Ohio Stadium with a win like that, and I'm also proud of the way that they responded. And I told them in the locker room that in life, you're gonna be defined by the way you handle adversity in life. As a person, as a man, as a dad. And so, to see the way that they responded in this game, you can tell from the jump that they had a look in their eye that they were going to go win this game. And I thought they played that way. So a lot of football ahead of us. Great win. But we're going to enjoy this for 24 hours, and then it's on to Oregon.
Over to the left, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Ryan, from a coaching perspective, this was like 180 from your last game. What did you guys do different? Did you just say, we're just going to go out and throw the ball, play loose, play aggressive?
I think it was a combination of things. I think that it's a little bit of everything. I think when you go back and look at the season, we talked about it going into the game. We were a different team. When we lost Seth, we played that Indiana game. We got, the punt return. Looking back on it, we got that turnover down in the red zone. We really didn't play great on offense in the Indiana game, truth be told. And then we went into the last game and still didn't quite know what the ramifications were of everything that was going on based on who we had up front. And, there was a lot of things that played into that game, but certainly one of them was we called this game more aggressively. There's no question about that. But also I think we did some things in this game that maximize what we have in terms of our strengths and minimize our deficiencies. Not that everything was perfect in this game. It wasn't. But I do think that, and I also thought Will was excellent in this game. Played really well. Did a really good job of placing the ball in some big time throws. When he needed to make plays with his legs, he did. And certainly Jeremiah, was dynamite again. But Will was the leader, but we also had balance in this game. It wasn't like it was just throwing it all over the place. We did have balance. We had some good runs. And those hit for us, which makes a big difference when you have that run pass balance that we're looking for. So, this has got to continue. This has got to build momentum, going into this next game.
Over to the right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Ryan, you dominated the first half, but then you look up at the scoreboard heading into halftime, and you're only up 11. Did you feel like maybe you let them off the hook a little bit? And what was that conversation like at halftime, knowing that you did dominate that half, albeit only an 11-point margin?
Yeah, that's why we knew coming out in the second half we had to win the next 4 to 5 minutes, and we did, and that really helped because you're right. You can feel that way a little bit, but I say to them all the time, coming in halftime, you're either going to be up, down, or it's going to be tied, and so now we have to go win the next 5 minutes of the game, 4 minutes of the game. And, they deferred, so they got the ball, so we had to get that stop. We did, and then we went down and scored, and that made a huge difference. But yeah, I tell the guys all the time that, you're in games like this, you got to have poise because there's ups and downs, and you can't get caught up in that. But yeah, there was a point there we have a chance to go up 28-0, and we threw the interception. Great play. And I like the call. I like how aggressive we were because that's part of it. When you're going to call the game aggressively, something like this happens. You have to be willing to work, live with it. But yeah, you had a chance to score right there and go 28-0, and the game's pretty much in hand at that point. But they fought their way back in. But they're a good team.
All right, Jay, your thoughts on Ryan Day's comments. It's pretty happy coach, optimistic about the future, but, man, he had to like the way his ball club played tonight.
They absolutely responded. You could tell Ryan Day challenged this football team for the last 2 weeks straight. Just in the locker room, on the football field, just the way they practiced, the way they were preparing for this game outside all week long, getting them ready for the cold, and they absolutely responded. But the most important thing I saw was Ryan Day's aggression as a play caller with Chip Kelly. It seemed like those two were on the same page about what they wanted to do tonight. They had an idea of here's how we want to attack them. And there's one specific guy I haven't given enough credit to, and I will later, but I got to give him some now, is Will Howard. He looked like a completely different quarterback than from the last week of the regular season. He looked sharper, he looked aggressive, he looked energetic and happy, and he looked like somebody that felt very, very confident in the game plan they were calling. They dialed up all his favorite plays, and every single one of his throws, except maybe one or two, looked like they were exactly what we've been waiting for. I mean, Will was all over the field with the dimes. Right here, beautiful deep ball to Jeremiah Smith. By the way, in stride, not underthrow, not overthrow, just right where it needed to be. Obviously a beautiful catch by Jeremiah, but you just watched Will the entire game control the pace of the game. When the tempo was cranked up, he kept the pace rolling. When it was time to slow it down, they had a strong lead and they wanted to milk a little bit of clock. He controlled the clock, and he did it with his legs too. He had a couple key runs there where he barreled forward and got some first downs. And I thought, man, this guy looks confident as he's ever looked, and I love that right there. That right there is all you wanted to see. One, was he healthy coming out of the game against that team up north? I know there were a lot of rumors about a potential concussion. Nope, this kid did not look concussed at all tonight. He looked locked in, laser focused, and the offense fed off of that. And then the other thing I got to say is huge kudos to the Ohio State offensive line. We talk so much about this is a patchwork O-line. Man, who are they going to slide where? What are they going to do? They absolutely shut down a defensive line for Tennessee that is the strength of their entire football team. I mean, that is their number one unit, and supposedly against Ohio State's weakest unit, and Ohio State's weakest unit became its strongest unit tonight and absolutely dominated that game. So big hats off to the O-line.
Football works that way, though. You get it to the athletes on the perimeter, right? All of a sudden you can run the football.
And it gets easier in there.
And it's a great 1-2 punch, I'll tell you what. All right, let's bring in our partners, Dave and Obi, once again at the Horseshoe. Guys.
All right, first thoughts on Ryan Day. I mean, look, I get it. Ryan Day has not been the toast of the town these past 3 weeks, and no one has taken that loss harder than him. No one's taken more criticism than he has. And I understand a lot of people think it's deserved 4 in a row, ugly loss. I will say this. For him, he has to feel like the weight of the world has come off his shoulders. And he still has a Michigan problem that must be addressed down the road, Obi. Right. But this concept that he can't win a big game, well, he's won 3 top 10 games this year. I don't believe any other team in America has done that. So there's this dichotomy with Ryan Day that he has a Michigan problem certainly that needs addressed. I don't think the criticism that he, quote, can't win the big game is necessarily accurate. But I would say for him tonight, that had to feel incredible because he was certainly feeling the heat going into this.
Yeah, you know what? And the I can only imagine, and I've obviously been in the Woody Hayes on some tough times under my former coach, Coach Cooper. Yeah. But the psychology of how Ryan Day had to rally this team together with all of the rumors and all the speculations and people saying he's going to lose his job, he should lose his job, and to block out all the distractions and get this team focused at the level at which they were focused and have the offense even clicking like Jay was speaking of. It just seemed like they wrote a full script and everything worked today. Everything from an offensive side worked today. Everything from a defensive side worked. It was good. It was good to see. As far as Ryan Day, yes, what you were saying, you know what? This is a big game. This was a big deal.
Right.
And this is the playoffs. And sometimes it's strange, especially if you've grown up in Ohio all your life. It's Ohio State and Michigan. It is the game, right? But times are changing a little bit, so you can still lose that game and win the national championship. So you have to give credit where credit is due. You have to stay focused because the season is longer. The season is bigger than Michigan, dare I say. The season is bigger than Michigan. Here Ohio State stands in the pathway of possibly winning a national championship. And you know how hard to peek. We peeked through the curtains at Oregon. It's hard to beat a team twice, right? So here we go.
Yeah, Ohio State now 3 wins away from winning that national championship. We'll be right back. More for the Shoe coming up next.
All right, time now for our favorite segment here on the Postgame Show. I love it. It's Jay Rich's player of the game. I love that graphic, my man. That's a good-looking graphic. Who was the player of the game tonight, Jay Richardson?
Oh, man, listen, I've been on this guy all season long. I've heard it from folks on Twitter or X or whatever it's called and at home on the street. Why are you so hard on this kid, man? We love this kid. I'm not hard on him. I'm just critical. I analyze, and I can be a bit critical, but I got to say, Will Howard, you are absolutely amazing, man. What you did tonight, 24 of 29, okay, 311, 2 touchdowns, and I'm not even going to mention the pick because that was the right pass to make. What he was just absolutely laser focused. And by the way, folks, these aren't like just intermediate and short and like the easy stuff. These all weren't layups. He threw some back shoulder dimes. He threw some deep ball dimes. He threw some down the seam to G. Scott dimes. He threw some underneath stuff with a guy in his face. He was not sacked very often. He avoided the rush. He had great pocket awareness. This was like a kid that looked like he was going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. And I got to say, I have not thought that about him the entire season until tonight, where I went, oh my God, this is next level stuff he's doing. This is, I'm going to play on Sundays and Monday nights and Thursday nights kind of stuff. And it was because he was confident. It was because Chip and Ryan put a game plan around him that made him feel good, that made him feel comfortable. And the offensive line gave him time all day long. I cannot say enough about his offensive line up front and what they did for him. People are going to say, yeah, well, he's got great receivers. Yes, but you still have to execute the position of quarterback at a high level. And tonight, Will Howard played his best ball in the most important game of the year. Hats off. You are the player of the game, kiddo. You're a monster. You played your Buckeyes off.
Playing his best ball right here. It was the dime show. What else do you say, right? He was an athlete in rhythm. Yeah, 311, 24-29, 2 touchdowns. Great stuff there. All right, we're back soon when the football fever continues. RJ, was an epic win in the Horseshoe tonight for Ohio State. Have to talk about the running game. Quinshawn, Travion, they really came to play. They were showing out tonight as well.
Ohio State, right? 317 passing yards, 156 yards on the ground. When you look at Travion Henderson, though, he's the guy that scares teams. I mean, he's the guy that puts fear in your heart. Why? Because he's a dual threat. Yes, he can catch it. He can run it. But he does it explosively, Ben. He had 10 rushes for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And when you look at him, I mean, that's 8 yards a carry for the simple math folks at home. But what you love about it is when he gets into space, he makes one guy miss, and then it's like he's gone. It's like he's the most athletic running back in the country. I'm not going to argue with anybody. I can't wait till the NFL Combine, and he can show you guys just how fast he can run as he's doing there. As the Tennessee defender realized he thought he had an angle. He does not have an angle. Trey is such a monster, man. I wish people really could see him up close, and one of the humblest, nicest kids you've ever seen. But the most important thing I want folks to take away from this night is only 3 penalties, Ben.
That's good, man.
Ohio State was the less penalized team, 3-6. So what I love about that is that tells me that guys were focused. There was an element of discipline in today's game. And I thought when you can have that controlled kind of rage and just you can explode out there without having all of the negative plays. And one of those penalties was a roughing the passer, which we all absolutely hated. I mean, I thought it was a horrible, horrible call. But at the end of the day, you saw the control. They just kept bouncing back. No big deal. We'll go on to the next play, and we'll just keep attacking. So that's what I love, Ben.
Explosive and controlled football team. That's a good recipe, my man.
Beautiful combination.
Good combination. All right, let's go to Kellyanne Stitz right now at the Horseshoe. Kellyanne?
Trey, first and foremost, congratulations on the big win over Tennessee, earning a trip to the Rose Bowl and a rematch with Oregon. We'll get to that in a second, but first, you guys scored 21 points in the first quarter, ran it up to over 40 points tonight. How important was it to get off to the fast start like that?
It was very important, man. I just want to give thanks to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Like, we truly can't do what we do without him. Like, he's truly our strength. And so, man, this was all for him, all for his glory. And so I truly am thankful.
Trey, 10 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns for you. You had played with great vision tonight, maneuvering your way around. What was working so well for you?
Really just the game plan. Man, I really appreciate the coaches for putting the game plan together. And, the guys working hard, the guys up front working hard to execute it. And so, yeah, really shout out to those guys.
Yeah, the offensive line playing very well for you guys. How would you assess their performance tonight?
Really, really good. They've been putting in the work. They've been grinding, man. I'm so proud of them. Okay. So proud of them.
And what are you looking forward to most in this rematch with Oregon?
It's going to be a great game. They're a good team, and so we're looking forward to it. We're excited to play them again.
And Trey, last one. What's the message for Buckeye fans?
Jesus loves you.
I love it. All right, back now with the Kia dealers' keys to the game. First, willpower. Our guy Will Howard really did enforce his will on this game, lit up that Tennessee defense. Next is St. Luke. Man, the offensive line easily won the battle in the trenches today against a stout volunteer D-line. And last one here, Forsythe. Ohio State aired it out to the freshman phenom, and boy, did he make them pay. There's a pattern going on there. All right, Jay, final thoughts here from call it what it was, man. A big, big win for the program tonight.
Hats off to Ryan Day. Way to respond. A lot of pressure on him. That seat was as hot as it's ever been, and he just absolutely dialed it up and handled his business today. He emptied the clip out there all over the Vols. I love that. Now, can you calm yourself? Can you get refocused? Can you get ready to go out west? And let's not just be excited about one football game. Everybody knows now what we can do. We're not going to surprise anybody, this Buckeye team. They understand this might be the most talented team in the entire country. And for that first quarter and even parts of the third, this looked like a national championship caliber football team, the best team in the country. So continue to be that.
It's a game of momentum, and I like ours moving forward. All right, that'll do it for us here on The Football Fever. The Buckeyes take on the Oregon Ducks in the Rose Bowl. What an epic rematch it will be. We'll see you soon. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.